Enough to knock me out, but I'm still holding the throne. You'll never know till it's over. So pretty it hurts. Just beware of the thorns.
All right, this is Harvey Talks Prison. Today I got a guest, Mark Witco, or Volkering.
Tashunka Witco.
Yeah. But,
What's left of him?
Anyway, I'm going to be interviewing him, so I'm going to let him start by telling a little bit about himself. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Mark.
I was born in St. Louis. I lived in the Missouri side of the river until after 8th grade. After 8th grade, my mother yanked us out of my father and stepmother's house. My brother Kenny, he had 2 bleeding ulcers at 11 years old, with spit and blood. There was a lot of bad stuff going on in that house, but we moved over to the Illinois side, to Belleville, Illinois, St. Clair County there. And whenever I moved over there, I was led to believe that my mother didn't want me, couldn't handle me. We were told we gave her stomach aches. What had happened though is when I was younger, she was raped by a guy that used to babysit us. And the only memories I have of that is waking up in the morning and the bloody mattress, the police were there, and back then they had them giant walkie-talkies, and my dad's brother, my Uncle Rick, he stayed friends with my mother her whole life, even after my father and her divorce. He was there. We lived right across from Lambert Airport, right across 70 there was apartment buildings. There's some, but the one where that happens tore down.
So is that where you that's where you grew up and started hanging around? And
well, we were all over in grade school. Mom and dad divorced when I was 7. My father was a hardworking man, but he was not a good husband. He didn't treat my mother good at all. He was real handsy, and to me that was normal. I was used to it, the arguments and stuff. But my mother, she wasn't going to be one of them women that stayed home. She wanted to work. She didn't want to stay home. And then when the kids are raised, she gets dumped and left for nothing. She was smarter than that. So, she demanded she worked. It led to a lot of arguments. Things would get physical. And they ended up, my mother left them because of it. And then we bounced around. I went to like 5 different grade schools, 1st through 8th grade. Iveland, Home Heights, over here in St. Louis. Went to a couple of Catholic grade schools, but
St. Louis was pretty rough though, wasn't it? Neighborhood.
Well, I didn't really. St. Louis is very rough. North St. Louis, East St. Louis, it's killing zone. North St. Louis, I could go half mile down the Rock Road, and that's where North St. Louis is. We're in St. Anne, but you hear gunshots every night here.
Yeah, I did time with a lot of tough St. Louis boys. They're tough.
Yeah, there's some guys out there, but what I used to consider tough, I don't consider tough no more. I consider the guy that gets up every day, goes to work, tries to feed his family. That's the real tough guy.
That takes a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot harder to do than going out and throwing fish, It takes consistency and dedication.
It doesn't take a lot to pull a gun on somebody.
Oh, no.
So when did you first start getting in trouble with the law?
When I moved over to the east side.
Oh,
I was sent to live with my dad and stepmother because my mother's rapist threatened to come back and kill me and my brother if she called the cops. But I didn't know that till I was like 37 years old. My mother told me that later in life out in Arizona. And then when we lived with my father and stepmother, 4th grade to 8th grade, my stepmother was a very insecure woman. And she would tell us all the time our mother didn't want us. She couldn't handle us. And things were physical between them two also in that house. And when my mother yanked us out of there because my brother was spitting blood. I mean, it was so stressful in that house that he had 2 bleeding ulcers.
Man.
And I was with my mother at the doctor because she had full custody. My father had no rights whatsoever because of the relationship. He had to pay child support, but that's all he got. And she yanked us out of that house. The doctor said, you know, what kind of environment are these kids living in? This boy has 2 bleeding ulcers. He said, do you know what kind of stress it causes? Did 2 bleeding ulcers for an 11-year-old? So mom yanked us out of there. But at that point, I wasn't aware of the rape. All I was told constantly is how my mother didn't love me. She couldn't handle us, you know, and
So,
we were always called Sheila's kids.
so you kind of grew up having bad thoughts about her, didn't know that.
Right. You know, whenever she made us move over there, I remember I called my dad and I said, you know, I don't want to be here. And he said, Mark, you know, she said, if I take you back, she's going to take Josh and leave. And that's my half brother. And he said he couldn't take me back. And I thought, you know, things are terrible there, but at least I'm wanted, you know. And I got off the phone and I told my mother, I said, I'm gonna make your life a living hell, you know. And that's how it started. I was intentionally doing things to hurt her. It snowballed out of control, you know. But that's when things started going bad. I went to Althoff. It was a Catholic high school. And the principal called my mom in. I was coming in drunk, you know, school, smoking pot. And she called me in, and the principal suggested I go to drug rehab. And my response to that was hit him in the head with a chair.
Right.
I got sent to care unit, was there 3 months, and got expelled from that school forever. And then I went to Belleville West, but in the meantime, she was sending me psychiatrists. I mean, to go through all the places. I was at Weldon Springs lockdown mental institution 3 times. I was at care unit drug rehab, psychologist, counseling at school. Mom tried everything. I mean, she really tried everything.
But you didn't know you didn't know she was trying to help you, did you?
No, I saw that later in life. I got that poem I wrote for her called Mama Bear. I wrote that when I got sentenced. But, you know, mom's gone now. She died of pancreatic cancer, but she fought harder for me than anybody.
Right.
The problem is as a young child, I was lied to.
Right.
And I was told something that wasn't true. I didn't have the whole picture.
So what got you sent to prison?
Well, I got kicked out of that nut ward the last time because I took a napkin holder to a dude's head. That's when mom signed me over to state Illinois. At 18, they released me from Chaddock up in Quincy. They tried foster homes, but I'd attack somebody and they'd send me. So what got me sent to prison, after I got out, you know, I was ward of state. After that was over, I kind of gypsied, just bounced around. I was all over here and there, a lot of city jails, county jails. I had 37 battery charges at one time in St. Clair County. Missouri, I had a felony case, but the bottom dropped out. We had a little clique going in Belleville, and I got in a fight, and it was, at first they were talking maybe attempt murder. Then they were going to go with heinous battery, because when they stopped that fight, the cops, his eye was hanging by a cord out of his head, you know.
Right.
And I can remember all I wanted to do, it sounds sick, and looking back on it, it's like somebody else doing it, kind of. I don't recognize that man anymore, but I was trying to pop his eye. that's all I could think about was popping this dude's eyeball. He had hit. We got called in by a guy that was a real serious guy, and you know, he told us if anything happens in this certain bar, you're all dead. You know, and I say ain't nothing gonna happen. Well, this guy started yelling at him that wanted to hook up with us, and fight broke out between him and one of my buddies, and my buddy's wife tried to grab him to get him up off of him, and he hit her. And me and Nate was on that case with me. We took the boots to the dude, and so they ended up going with aggravated battery, 3 to 5 in Illinois, and they put me on felony probation. And I was married to my first wife, was roofing, and all I heard is that's when them glamour shots come out. I want glamour shots. I want glamour shots. I ended up robbing Lloyd's Texaco gas station. She got glamour shots. I got a mug shot, you know, so I violated. I couldn't take it no more. She got me nuts with it.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
Well, I mean, it is kind of funny. And I'm sitting in the county jail, you know. I got lucky on the first case in Class X 6 to 30, and I violated that felony probation by robbing Lloyd's Texaco in Belleville, Illinois. And I'm sitting in the county jail on that case. They're talking armed robbery, which is another Class X. But a buddy of mine, he was a Simon City Royal out of Chicago. He got me the best criminal defense attorney around for free, pro bono. And he got me a good deal. They reduced it. But I'm sitting in the county and I get a letter from the ex-wife with her glamour fucking shot picture in it. You know, I'm like, oh man. And I had been in that kind of jail so many times they damn near let me roll my own fingerprints and
Right.
You know. But yeah, that's what got me sent to prison. And
so
that was my first sentence.
now I only heard about 2 prisons in Illinois, and that's Menard and Joliet. Is I'm saying that right? Joliet,
yeah.
Joliet?
Yeah, Joliet's up north.
Yeah, that's the only 2 I've ever heard of. Was it? Did you go to either of those 2?
I was at Menard. Menard, down southern Illinois back then, you go to Menard to get your number. That's where they give everybody their number. Southern Illinois went to Menard, and then northern Illinois went up to Joliet. They closed Joliet down, though, I heard.
But Menard's bad, right? It was kind of like
It was bad.
Yeah.
It was real bad. It was, you know, I considered myself a sociopath back then. I really had no compassion or mercy. And it's hard for people to really see that in me now because there's been a change. But when I got to Menard, I realized that Mark was not the baddest creature walking on the face of this earth. It was even as cold-hearted as I was, it was an eye-popping experience.
Right.
And that's why I freak out about you so much.
Right.
Going from a farm
going
to that environment.
White farm life to Missouri State Penitentiary, you know. But
from a farm though.
Right.
I mean, I was marinated in violence
Right.
and you know, it was a shock to me.
Right.
You know, I always pictured you jumping off that dock, you know, in the middle of summer into -20 water, you know.
Right. It's quite life I lived, but nothing like what you had, you know. That's why I want to tell your story is because, you know, there's a lot of people out here in these cities now messing up. There's kids out here in the country messing up, you know. They don't need to be going to places we've been, you know. They have no clue.
Well, a lot of it's, you know, the gang culture, and it's glamorized, you know. You see movies, it's glamorized, and it's an ugly, violent world. There's nothing cool about it. I still have nightmares.
You get sick and tired of seeing the same people day in, day out, seeing blood everywhere, you know. But you just get sick and tired of it, you know.
Well, what makes me mad too is these kids just getting hit with stray bullets, you know. And I've seen both sides. My mother and stepfather at one time in high school, they were both bringing in over 100 grand each a year. I got two brothers that work for Boeing. My college could have been paid for. The stuff from whenever I was a kid, I had a right to be hurt and angry. I just didn't deal with that positively. I drank, did drugs. I tried to keep myself numb, and that violence just increased and got worse, over time. It's choices and consequences. And I made that.
When you went to Menard, you're already used to violence. So, and
Oh, yeah.
what kind of surprised me was that you said it was still a shock to you when you got there.
Oh God. I mean, everything, just the ridiculous things. I seen two guys stab each other up over a state t-shirt, just a t-shirt with a number on it. And, a lot of people wouldn't understand that. They think over a t-shirt, but it's that whole,
it's mine.
Can't let nobody take nothing from me because
you ain't taking mine. I don't care if it is.
At first it's your t-shirt, then it's your tray, and then it might be your ass, So you gotta, that's the hardest thing I've had to deal with out here is that whole respect thing, in there, everything has to be responded to immediately. You gotta nip it in the bud. Out here, I'm trying to be more like Mitch Smiley, where he's a humble man. He's a man that's got the ability to hurt somebody, but he don't throw his weight around. He's very humble. So I look at it out here like it's pride out here. Unless somebody's putting their hands on you or trying to hurt your family, it's pride. And there it's a necessity.
Mitch is a good example of hard intentions, of how I don't know if he's adjusted or not, but it looks like he has, it's like he's getting right back in, but I'm sure there's something going on, but he's doing real good. He's positive message, positive attitude, and
he's an incredibly strong man.
Yeah.
Mitch is the one, it got to the point, because of my health and everything. I've had the last 5 years to really not think about my life, but really meditate on it. And it got to a point where all I was focusing on was violence, the negativity, the scars from my childhood, that I decided, hey, when Josh moves out, I'm just gonna get this shit over with. And I hated prison shows, couldn't stand them. I didn't even want to think about prison. And I watched 123-1, and Josh, Death on there. He's got the gift of gab,
He does.
And they had a guy that particular show, his name was Mel Hanna. He did 18 years in Illinois. And he said, they asked him what the worst prison he went to was, and he said Menard. And he said, them white boys have Menard on lockdown. It's the only prison in the state of Illinois that we had full control of. And you're outnumbered big time on the race ratio. But, when you got guards and people helping you out, it makes things a lot easier.
Right.
And he mentioned two organizations in there. I said, yeah, it was the Northsiders, Almighty Gaylords, and, Menard Chain Brotherhood. And me and him got to talking. He's the one that suggested doing videos. So I do the videos. It had helped me work through things. But Mitch, I was thinking about just checking out, taking the pump away. And I thought, you know what, man, this dude did 38 years. And if you think about it rationally, he could have been out in 6.
Right.
If he'd have ran his mouth. He stuck true to the code. He did 22 extra for integrity.
Right.
But I thought, here's this man done. All my time is a drop in the bucket compared to yours and his. Now if you took all the nut wards and all the places and you threw them all together, I got about 9-10 years in.
Right.
But it's just
but Mitch did his in California. It's a whole lot.
Well, it's like roofing. You're roofing and you're miserable and you want to walk off the job, but you don't want to bitch out in front of your brothers. Right. So I look at a guy like Mitch or you, and I'm like, man, these guys are doing positive things. I ain't gonna bet you out take the easy way. If they can do it and keep going. And Mitch really lit a fire under my ass. He got me off my pity pot.
Well, people like Mitch and me and Chad, we need you guys. We need people like you. To help spread this message out.
Well, it's very hard for me to talk about. I'm a very private person, and like I told you, half the people know me, they love me. The other half, they'd like to put a bullet in my head. I mean, either they love me or they hate me.
There's no in between.
Yeah, no. And the ones that hate me, it's probably most likely because they hurt somebody that I love and somebody suffered for it. Most of my fights, I was told from the day I was born I was nothing. That's what I always thought I was. So if somebody messed with me, it wasn't a big deal. But when they mess with me,
I told a guy one time, he said something like, man, I do not like you at all. I said, well, you have to get in line. There's a bunch of people hate me. He goes,
yeah.
He said, there is no line. He goes, everybody likes your ass. It's just me that don't like you.
Yeah. I got a message from somebody on Facebook. It said, you need to pay for what you did. And I didn't recognize his name. I called up my homie Nate Dogg and I said, hey man, you know who this is? He said, I don't know. He knows who everybody is. And I typed back, I said, get in line, motherfucker. It's a long,
Right.
But no, I like I said, to go through everything from my childhood, it would take months we could talk and not get through it all. But I'm 53 and I carry those scars still, and you would think, you're a grown man, get over it,
I don't have as many as you do, but we all have scars,
Oh yeah. And I dealt with mine negative. Right. If I would have dealt with it in a positive way, things would have been different. And I felt for a long time I was supposed to try to help some young kid not take bad things that happen to them. You got a right to be angry. You got a right to be mad, but don't destroy your whole life and bring more pain on yourself,
right.
By not dealing with it positively.
So if there's any young people out here listening, or if you could talk to a young person face to face, what would you tell them?
I would tell them,
if they're messing up, if they're,
I would tell them that, don't think that you're going to be slicker than everybody else. Don't think that you're tougher than everybody else, smarter than everybody else, that it can't happen to you. It's a slippery slope. Once you start having problems, it tends to have a habit of snowballing and getting worse. Yeah. I'm just here by God's good graces. You're no slicker than nobody else. You're gonna get caught up, and you might think you're ready for prison. You can hear about prison all day long, but until you're there, smelling it, seeing it, and wading in it, you're not getting a full flavor of how that shit tastes. Like
Jay Walker says, your mama, your parents, and your lawyer ain't gonna be walking out in that yard with you.
No, and you got fighters and you got runners.
Right.
And the other thing about prison is there's nowhere to run. It's one cage to the next cage.
You might as well just fight, because you can't go.
It's cage fighting is what it is. I mean, there ain't no running. I remember there was a guy that snitched in an organization at Menard, and he was in protective custody. And that organization killed a guard and went up and killed him in protective custody.
Right. I mean, you can't get away. No.
And anybody can be got. I mean, it don't matter who you are.
It's like Jay Williams of Let's Live Life.
I like Jay. Jay's cool.
He's funny.
I see him.
But
he's one of those guys that I look at above me as far as wisdom, what he's been through.
Yeah.
Like you call him an old head. I call him the old timer, old school, back when it was even more serious than it is today.
No, I wasn't talking about Jay Walker, but yeah, I love Jay Walker. I'm talking about Jay Williams. He's got a prison channel. And
what channels he got?
It's called Let's Live Live. And
I'll have to check that out.
he says on there sometimes, he goes, you know, you gotta get lucky when he's talking to all these young people, like, you know, the message I had you give a while ago. He goes, you gotta get lucky every single time. He goes, the cops only gotta get lucky once.
Right. That's true. That's true. Well, and that's like the gangs, you know, I told you I was a North Sider. I'm a flag holder, but I can't talk about the organization. But as far as the gangs go, what I'll say is these kids, I've seen both sides. I know what it's like in the bad neighborhoods, and I know what it's like to eat from a plate with steaks and good food on it. But those people in those neighborhoods, what a lot of people don't understand in this country, is a lot of those kids, the only meal they'll get is at school during the day.
Right.
I was locked up with a guy, got 20-something years for selling crack cocaine. And he said, I didn't even do crack, man. He said, I sold crack because I don't know who my dad is. My mother was strung out on heroin, and I was trying to feed my little brother and sister, you know. He's like, who's going to feed them now? I mean, and most Americans don't live in that kind of neighborhood environment. They don't understand the desperation.
You know, and it's just like the ones that came from those neighborhoods, like you just described, and go to prison, and they're there for several years. They had no choice but to go right back to that neighborhood.
Exactly. It's desperate people do desperate things.
Right.
And unless you're in a desperate situation like that, most people look at prison, oh, they're bad people. They're good people that made bad choices, bad decisions, and it got them to prison. Right. To me, children are everything. It goes back to kids, you know. I had the right to be hurt and angry, but ultimately at the end of the day, I believe honor is, it's not somebody that never messes up. It's somebody that when they do make a mistake, they say, it's on me, you know. Right. I had bad things happen that scarred me up and hurt me as a child, but I'm the one that chose to start running the streets and drinking and acting out for whatever reason. I chose to do it. That was my choice. And the consequences of that was now I'm red flagged in every police cruiser in the country as a known prison gang member. They had Amy and me in Arizona face down on that hot pavement. And finally, I mean, lacing the fingers and everything, palms up. And he lets us back in the car. And I said, hey, you know, what the hell? He said, oh, you're doing 5 over. I said, so you got a gun on my wife, man? And he said, well, you red flagged me. Well, to me, I worked construction my whole life. That's something I put on my ladder hanging out the back of my truck. I said, I'm in the car. I don't even got my work truck. And he said, no, on my computer, you're red flagged. It says you're a known prison gang member. You're extremely violent and dangerous. And I need to be careful with you. Because he was behind the quarter panel with his gun out. And he's like, what's this cop doing? And I said, dude, I've never been to jail in Arizona. And he said, no, this is nationwide. He said, you're in a federal database. And, you know, that's why I get pulled over. My hands are on the wheel. I say, yes, sir. No, sir. And I don't reach for the glove box unless I'm telling them I'm going to do it. You know, I stand the risk of getting shot too.
Okay, Mark, I think we're going to have to close this and finish up another time.
Okay. It was good talking to you, Harvey.
Yes, great. And thank you for doing this interview. And I hope people watch this, man. They really do need to watch this.
I hope it helps some people. I'm not good with words, but you and Mitch, you know, you're somebody I feel comfortable with. So hopefully I get down there, we'll hook some lips, man.
All right.
Have some fish.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one, brother.
You too.
Yeah.